Well, hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Betsy, and this is Keith Luttrell, and we are, my husband is the pastor at Christ Church Irving, located right in the heart of Irving, right in the middle of it. It's off of 183 and Carl Road, where the old Texas Stadium used to be. We're directly across Loop 12 from that. So if you have been following us online, we would love to see you guys in person on Sundays from 9:30 and 11 o'clock. And we just have a wonderful time of fellowship together. It's a great worship environment. We absolutely love it. It's great. We have some incredible people there at church, and we just love it. So if you are interested in being a part of a community, being a part of a community of believers and people that can really encourage you in your walk with God and your walk in life in general, then Christ Church would love to see you. So please come see us some Sunday. If you're ever in the Irving area, we would love to have you. We have an online presence, Christ Church Irving. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. And so we have an online presence. We also have churches that are people that watch us in Mexico. We have a really big Spanish congregation in Mexico, and we have a good Spanish speaking ministry at our church as well. So if you're interested in anything like that, we would love to have you with that. Our children's program is by far the greatest thing that I've ever seen in churches. We have a great youth minister. Brian Bunch is awesome. And our two our children's ministers, Molly and Megan, are spectacular. So we've got just about anything that you could possibly want to be a part of a community of believers. And so we just would love to have you come and join us at Christ Church sometime. So yesterday, Keith and I were asked to speak on marriages. We do that every February around Valentines Day. And it's one of our favorite things to do together. And our congregation really responds well to that. And so today we spoke about marriages yesterday. And so today they've asked us to come on here and answer some of your questions that you have about marriages in relation to what we spoke about yesterday at church. So if you're interested in watching that message, then you would go to YouTube and type in Christ Church Irving, and it will bring up yesterday's message. And it's Keith and me talking about how to make love last, or keep love lasting, or can't even remember what my topic was.
How to make love
How to
last.
make love last. That's what it was. So if you're interested, go to YouTube and you can find that there. So what else should we do? What else should we talk about first?
All right, I say we just dive in
Okay.
to our questions. These are great questions that y'all have sent to us. And the first one is a most common one that we get, and that is, how do you have healthy conflict and disagreement and reach a resolution?
Yeah, so conflict is inevitable in every relationship, not just marriages. But think about conflict even with your parents, with your siblings, with your best friends, with your coworkers. Conflict is inevitable. You will have conflict, and so it's very important for you to understand how to address conflict and to not just walk away and shy away from it, because it is in every single relationship that you have, there will be conflict. And conflict is the price that we pay in order to get through to a deeper level of intimacy. So think about your friendship relationships or any relationship that you have. There's this tunnel of conflict that you have. And you might dip your foot into, like, I don't like this, or I don't like that you said this or something, okay? And so you kind of dip your foot in this conflict, and you feel so odd with it, because what you've normally been doing in your relationship is just talking about, how's the weather? How's your job today? Can I help you with anything today? So you keep everything kind of at a surface level in your relationships. But then when something happens and there's a conflict there, you may dip your foot in it. But because it feels so weird and so foreign to you, you step right back out of it and you never get into that tunnel of conflict. But by going through that tunnel of conflict and ending up on the other side where you can understand, oh my goodness, my husband's still here. He hasn't left me because of this. Oh my goodness, my friend is still my friend. We can have an argument and we can still be friends. Oh my goodness, my mom's still going to love me even though I just had to bring up a difficult subject with her. And so by going through that tunnel of conflict, you get to where you are deeper in your relationship with that person. But conflict is the price we pay in order to get deeper in relationships. So it's inevitable to have it, but how you have it constructively is a process.
Yeah. Now I'll give you the core of a good fight. We got this from Les and Leslie Parrott. CORE is an acronym. The C stands for cooperation. You want to be able to cooperate with each other and fight for a win-win on that. Also, ownership, because everybody has a percentage of ownership in the argument or in the fight. It may just be 5%, but you have to own up to your end of the deal. The R stands for respect. And so you want to respect each other. You don't want to belittle each other or put somebody down. So you need to highly respect each other. And the E stands for empathy, to step in the other person's shoes so that you can feel what they feel. And so a couple of things, and you may have more.
Well, when I was thinking about when you're saying empathy, what's the challenge whenever you're in empathy is, or whenever you're in conflict, is you want to get your point across. You want to say what's on your mind and you want to get your point across. But when you're really thinking about empathy, which is the toughest part in this core, you have to step back and you have to say, am I really listening to what they are saying? Am I trying to really put myself in their shoes and how this made them feel? And that's the toughest part about conflict, because in conflict, our goal is to get it out there and let them know how we feel. But the best thing about constructive conflict is when you can step back and say, okay, now how does that make you feel? And then you hear and you listen to them so that you're able to empathize with them and then put yourself in their shoes. That is a key part of constructive conflict.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things you can do. One is just an XYZ method that you can use. In situation X, when you feel Y, when you do Y, it makes me feel Z. So in this situation, whenever you do this, it makes me feel like I'm not important, or it makes me feel sad, or it makes me feel angry. So in this particular situation, when we're with your mom and dad, when you talk about me in a negative way, it makes me feel undervalued. So that's the XYZ. One method you can use is XYZ. The other method we have used before is called withholds. And that is, at the end of the day, you can say two things that you withheld from the other person that are positive, and one thing you withheld that's a negative. It has to be 2-to-1 ratio, and then you can't talk about it for 30 minutes. So you say, hey, when you brought me a Diet Dr. Pepper this morning, that was awesome, and I didn't say thank you, or I didn't really let you know how much I appreciate that, but I really did appreciate that. And when you hugged me before you left for work, I really did appreciate that. Now, when you came home and I was trying to communicate with you and you shut me down or shut me out, then that made me feel like I wasn't very important to you, or that your work's more important than me. And so that's 2 positive withholds, 1 negative withhold, and then you just leave it alone for a while and let that kind of sink in to one another. And that's one way of just communicating some things that might agitate you, but may not be necessarily big things.
Yeah, because it's important to go ahead and address those little things. You don't want to be a nag and address them every single day. But it's very important that you don't allow those things to build up, because once you keep stuffing and keep stuffing and keep stuffing things, then eventually that will erupt and explode. And that will be an argument. So in order to have constructive conflict, you do have to address those things, but you can do it in that withhold way. Here's 2 things I loved about today, but here's one thing I think we could maybe work on.
Yeah. And one more thing is there's a difference between anger and the issue. And so you have to resolve your anger and you have to resolve the issue, but you probably don't need to do that at the same time. So you need to first resolve your anger, then together as a couple, you can resolve whatever particular issue it is that's creating that conflict. So anything else?
That's it.
All right, here's the next one. In what ways can we honor our spouse more? Because yesterday we talked about honoring our spouse and lifting them up and paying them high respect. How can we honor our spouse? And one of the things that I would say is to ask them. Ask your spouse, what can I do today to honor you? And it may be fill my car up with gas. Or it may be surprise me with something that you bring home for dinner. But ask your spouse, how can I honor you today? And let them tell you, because what they may say may be totally different than what I would say or what you might think. But ask them, and when they tell you and then you do it, then they are going to feel highly honored by you.
Another way of honoring your spouse, and this is mainly for women, I feel like whenever you're talking with your girlfriends and whenever you are around your mom and your parents, you just do not ever talk disparagingly about your spouse. You don't say anything like, oh, this is funny. Look what he did. I know. Can you believe my husband did that? Those type of things is not honoring your spouse. You want to make sure that you are always building them up and that you're always championing them. And you're like the wind in their sails, just keeping them going. But when sometimes women get together and they start talking about the little nagging things that their husbands do, and that is not honoring your spouse. It's very tempting and it's easy to get caught up in the girl banter type of thing. And I get it, but being able to hold your tongue and that you don't have to come back and say, oh, but my husband never does that. My husband's so great. You don't have to do that. But you just come back, you just kind of hold your tongue and you just really don't say anything and you let them go on talking about their spouses, but you try very, very hard to never belittle your spouse. That's a way you can honor them.
All right, next question is about empty nesters. We're only a few years away from being in empty nest years as fairly new empty nesters like Betsy and I are, like I am. What piece of advice do you have as we head into this new phase of our marriage? In fact, we had 2 or 3 questions regarding empty nest. And for Betsy and me, we have appreciated every single stage of raising our children. In fact, even before children. Our newlywed years, we love that. The preschool years, we love that. The grade school years, the teenage years, we love that. The college years, we love that. We love every stage, and yet at the end of every stage, we were ready for that stage to end and start a brand new stage. And the same thing happened with being empty nesters is we are loving this particular stage of life. We love our kids. We miss our kids being here. I love being a dad. And yet it is a new phase. And so I know you got a good idea on this.
Yeah. So what we found whenever we thought we were empty nesters was when they went off for college. And we thought, oh, wow, we're empty nest. Our nest is empty and this is great. But they come home. They come home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and spring breaks and summers. They come home. And so that's kind of not a true empty nest. It's kind of a pseudo empty nest, if you will. But we found that during that time, we became more of an advisor than really, we were still parents, but we were more on that advisory role. They were independent or trying to be as independent as they could. And they would call and ask us questions, but not really wanting our advice and yet needing our advice. So we kind of stepped into this advisory role, not kind of taking our parent hat off a little bit and being more of an advisor on different things that they would ask about. So it is weird whenever they come home from college because they've been so independent for 6 months or a year. And then they come home and now they're under your roof and yet they're still staying out like till 2 in the morning. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having to stay up because I'm worried about them. When they're in college, you don't even know that they're out until 2 o'clock in the morning, but they are. And so it's different. You have to really adjust whenever they come home from college. It is a difference there. But I will say that once they are employed and they really are on their own, that's really when you are an empty nest. You really have an empty nest because now they may not call you and ask for advice or, whatever. But my advice to you is to understand that whenever they go to college, there's going to be some angst there whenever they come back home from college. Get ready for that. That's normal. And then whenever they do go away, this is time for you guys to start some new traditions, just the two of you. And that we talk a lot about going to the state fair. Well, guess what? We never went to the state fair when our kids were home. We never did that. My love for Ferris wheels began after my kids went to college because it was too expensive to go to the state fair with all of my kids. So we never went to the state fair. But once they left, we started these new traditions. And so my love for Ferris wheels began after my kids went to college. So start new traditions, start learning a new hobby, take cooking classes together, cook together, start taking up golf or tennis or pickleball or something else that will be a good hobby that the two of you can do together that will be an enjoyable time. And you're just like, oh man, I can't believe that we haven't done this our entire life, but now I absolutely love this. So make sure you start new traditions just between the two of you.
Yeah, so important. And two, before you're empty nesters, if you'll make it a priority, make the other one a priority in your life, and you create some things that just the two of you, then when your children do leave, it's not quite the shock because you have spent some time growing in your relationship with each other. And then when they leave, you're able to do that even more so. That's why you need to place more of an emphasis on your relationship with your spouse than you do with your kids.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, it's tough because we had a daughter in drill team and we had a son playing football and a spirit leader on the side. So, every Friday night was taken up and Saturday night was preparing for sermons, and we worked during the week. So I get it. Whenever you have kids at home, we're like two ships that passed in the night, and all we could think about was putting our head on that pillow at the end of the day. So I understand that it's tough to find the times to make each other a priority, but it's so important to do that. And we're going to have a date night. It is a standard date night, and we are going to make each other a priority and make that something that you really don't budge on. You really make sure that you know each other's, because when the kids do leave, you will have more time for each other, but you have to really like each other in order to, spend that time with each other, to like each other so that you want more time with each other.
You said something about a date night, and what you're going to hear us say that over and over again in response to all these questions. Like the next one is, what is the best way to reinvest in your relationship with your spouse when you have a newborn and time is scarce?
Well, I will tell you that the newborn phase for me was probably my least favorite phase with my kids. They were attached to me all the time. And I was a stay-at-home mom, and we had no money. And I took up a job at Victoria's Secret working at night so that I could at least have some Christmas gifts to give to all my sister-in-laws for Christmas. And that's no joke. But we made it work. But I can remember the feeling of, I can't wait till he gets off of work where I can hand this child off to him, and then boom, I'm out the door. Because that newborn phase is a really tough phase. It's constant. It's just constant. And so what I would tell a newborn mother is, if you're asking, I would say your child needs to have some independence, and they need to have some time away from you. That is healthy. It will make you happier, and it will make your child happier. And you will be amazed whenever you come back home at all the skills they've created, all the things they can do by themselves, just how much they've grown overnight, because you weren't there to just always be right there picking up the pieces for them all the time. And it is one of the healthiest things you can do to truly hire a very trustworthy babysitter and to leave the baby at home with a trustworthy babysitter and go out and fill your cup back up. It's the best thing you can do. And we did not have that luxury. Our parents, we lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and our parents were in Dallas and Abilene, Texas, 14 and 16 hours away. So we didn't have that luxury of being able to have parents that would willfully like take the kids. But we found some really good, precious babysitters. And we did. We just took off and just to go walk around the mall by ourselves. I mean, that was a treat, just to have a time where we didn't have someone just hanging on our hip all the time. So the best advice I could give you and the way that you can reconnect with each other during this infant stage is, trust me, take time for yourselves and make sure that you hand that baby off, because they need that independence, and it will make you happier and your child will be happier because of it. I promise you.
And I'd also say take advantage of moments, and that may be only 5-minute moments, but go to bed together. I mean, that's a time when the child is asleep and you both go to bed together and just have pillow talk right there, where you're just reviewing the day or reviewing the week coming up. It's a little 5-10 minute moment before you go to sleep, but those are so important. And another thing is, make sure that parenting is not a competition between one another, where I've been at home with the child all day, so I'm going to hand this child off to you, and now it's your turn so that I can have my space and I can do my own deal. I've seen couples be single parents in competition with each other, and that's not the right way to go about it. You're both in this together, so how can you both help one another out? Be the very best parent that you can possibly be.
Yeah, that's really good.
Here's another one. How can you help your spouse on bad days if they don't want to talk about it?
Well, that happens with us more times probably than we like to admit. I typically need time. If I've been misunderstood, or if I've had a bad day, or if something's not right between us, I need time to process my feelings and to understand exactly like the word that I'm feeling, because it's hard for me to find those words sometimes. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. I'm not resentful. I'm not any of these things, but I don't know what it is that I am. And so I have to have time to process. So Keith, on the other hand, wants to resolve it right now. He's a peacekeeper and he's a peacemaker, and he feels unsettled until the issue is resolved. So when I'm quiet and when I need time to process, he's unsettled and he doesn't like it at all. And he's like, what? Let's talk about it. Come on, let's talk about it. And I'm like, honey, not right now. Seriously, you're not going to want me to talk about it right now, because if I talk about it right now, I will say something that I don't mean, because I don't really know what it is that I mean right now. I know that I'm not right, but you need to give me time to process. And your spouse may need that. And if they do, it is better. You will be so much happier if you give them some space and let them go figure it out. Now, you do have to come back to it. You can't just say, okay, give me space, and then 3 days later come back to it. That's not going to work. That is worse. But we kind of have a rule, or really, that we don't go to bed angry. So we try to resolve it before we go to bed at night. And then sometimes the next morning, I'll have time to even think about it further. And then I'm saying, you know what? I didn't even mean what I said last night. I don't even know why I went there. And so sometimes more time between in the middle of the argument sometimes can be pretty good, because it gives you time to process what you actually are feeling.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Another great way of doing it is have a date night once a month where you go to a restaurant, and that's going to be the night that you're going to ask, how can I be a better husband, or how can I be a better wife, or where you have your confrontation, like what's something that I have done that really gets on your nerves. And you're at a restaurant, you're in public, you know it's coming, and so you're kind of prepared for whatever is being said, and that way you get to talk about it, whatever the issue is, and hopefully resolve that issue without blowing up and getting mad at each other and getting each other's face at the house. That's not ever good. So give it space, give them space, give it time. And then again, another date night. It's kind of the confrontation night. And you might have a date night and there's nothing.
Yeah.
And so you just get to enjoy each other, which is great. But if there is an issue, you get to talk about it in a public setting without raised voices.
Okay, so let's shift to something fun. Okay?
This is fun.
I know, this is fun, but we're talking about conflict on Valentine's Day, and I don't want to talk about conflict on Valentine's Day. So this is Valentine's Day, and I hope that you guys are really taking time to show your love to your love of your life. And if there's still time out there to go get some flowers or to grab a bite to eat together or to just sit on the back porch and have a glass of wine and have an enjoyable night together. So make sure that today on Valentine's Day that you do spend time with your one and only, and that you spend time in just sharing your love with each other, because it's Valentine's Day and it's fun and it's a great day to just enjoy one another. So we actually have reservations at one of our favorite restaurants.
Yep.
Thank you, Keith.
Yep. Uh-huh.
He did good. And so
I called this morning.
So we're actually going to dinner tonight, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, we've been getting a text from members in our church that have shown us pictures of what their husband gave to them, this big balloon thing or these flowers or things that they're doing tonight to celebrate Valentine's Day, and it's so important.
Look. Look at what one of our spouses did for their spouse at our church. Isn't that fun? And showed up at her work with this big Tiff's treats and these balloons and flowers to say, I love you. Isn't that cool? Look, she said, Betsy, look. So exciting. So yeah, Valentine's Day is fun. So have fun tonight. And I'm going to say one more thing. If you are joining us, we are so happy that you've joined us. This is our first time to do anything live, and it really is kind of fun. But we are at Christ Church Irving, right off of 183 and Carl Road, 9:30 and 11 o'clock. It's one of the best hours you will ever give yourself on a Sunday. And I just hope that you're able to join us in person, because we would love to see you in person.
That's another thing you can do together as a couple to invest in your marriages, to worship with us or worship anywhere together as a couple. Here's a couple of books. These are workbooks for men and women, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And this is another thing you can do to reinvest in your relationship, is to order these books. You can get them online. We even have them at church, and we can give you a couple of these. But this is just a wonderful thing to get and go through together as a couple, so that your marriage can be taken to the next level. And that's the book we use, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts.
Leslie Parrott, they're the best.
They're great.
Best in the biz.
All right.
Okay. Want to pray us out?
Yeah, I'll pray us out. God, thank you so much for couples that want to take their marriage to the next level. And I pray that they will be able to do that. And today, Valentine's Day, is the launching pad for their marriage to not only go the distance, and to not only be okay or good, but for it to be great. And it's in your son's name that we pray. Amen.
Okay, we love you guys.
Love you guys.
Happy Valentine's Day.